Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our webinar this morning. We're going to be doing a training on creating payroll vouchers. My name's Karina, and I have Patrick here with me. You guys are all familiar with Patrick, and I'm just going to act as the moderator for this webinar. I'd like to describe the tools, and also I'll be watching the questions that are coming in and to facilitate our end of the session Q&A. So for those of you who are new to GoToWebinar, one of the things that you'll note is that all of our attendees are currently muted. So that way Patrick will go ahead and just go ahead and pass through the process from start to finish. During that time, you may have some questions. So you'll note that there's a little widget that you'll see on your screen, and there's an orange arrow. If you click that orange arrow, you'll see a place where you can ask questions. So if you have a question, you're more than welcome during the presentation at any time to go ahead and type that question out to us. Those questions will come to me as a list, and we will address those questions at the end of the session. We are going to record this session, so I will go ahead and distribute a copy of this recording to everybody at the end of the webinar, probably later today. So without any ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Patrick, and he can get us going.
Well, thank you, Karina. Again, hello everyone. This is Patrick, and many of you are familiar with my voice on the phone, or we've met personally, and I'm glad to talk with you again. I want to welcome you to the session here on creating pay vouchers, paychecks, and the payroll program here that Ponham has. We want to begin the process by clicking on the Manage Pay Vouchers in the primary task box up here in the upper left. Many of you are familiar with the programs, but if you're not, in the upper left we have our primary task box, which is where we start all of our operations. So simply click on the Manage Pay Vouchers. And then if I'm going to start just a single voucher, or if I'm doing this by hand, you might say, the next item is to come over and click on the New Voucher button. We begin all of our paychecks and we enter all of our details on what we call a voucher. The next step is to come down here and select an employee. Now I can start typing the employee's last name. It's always last name first. Or I can drop down the little menu here and I can simply select somebody. The next item is to put in the date. Again, I can type the date in, or I can select the date. And then we'll go ahead and put in today's date. And we have two dates. We have a check date, which is the date the check will actually be valid. And then we have a pay period ending date, which is recognizing when did this pay period end that the person is being paid for. In this case, we're going to say it was back on Sunday the 27th. Now the transaction date will be filled in for you. There's no need to worry about this particular field. Our next item is to come down in the blank field below, and we want to add the type of pay we're going to pay this person. In this case, in Quantum, we usually call it regular pay or salary are the two that we usually use, but in this case we're going to use regular pay. And then we're going to put in the rate that we're going to pay this person. In this case, we're going to put in $10 an hour. Now we could put in the salary for the month if this was a salaried employee. That would be something we would put in here as well. That would, their salary for the pay period is what the rate would be. The labor category is simply where are we going to pay this person from. We're going to make this person the deputy supervisor. And these labor categories will have been preset in your system already based on the setup that you've done. Next, we want to put in the number of hours that they worked. In this case, the person worked 12 hours, and it automatically calculated that they would receive $120 in pay for this particular pay period. And if we like, there is a memo field on the end where we can add a memo about this particular pay. Not many people use this unless they're trying to note a specific event that somebody is being paid for. Now in this case, the employee is not set up to automatically calculate the taxes. So I'm going to switch to someone who is automatically set up for that. Let's try this one. Here we go. Now, when I switch the employee, you'll notice that all the items here changed, and that's fine. But we're going to go in here, and for his regular pay, we're going to give him 2 units, and that changes it to 300. You'll notice that it automatically configures and calculates the Medicare, and for this particular employee, it also will calculate the state and federal withholdings if this person is subject to them, or if there is enough money on the paycheck to warrant withholding the federal income tax. Those are all part of the setup. But these green lines are automatically calculated for you, and we don't have to worry about the green lines. Now, if I want to add another line, I simply come down here and I click the plus sign, and I can add any type of item that I want to. Let's say there was a holiday pay, because we just had Thanksgiving, and so we're going to give everybody $100 for Thanksgiving. And again, I'm going to have to tell it where the money's coming from. Supervisor, deputy supervisor, and we want 1 unit. And we added another, it jumped up here a line on me, we added another $100. So we're done with this voucher. This is all we need to pay the person. Down at the bottom here, you can see we have the gross salary for the person, the amount of taxes being taken out, any additional deductions that may be a uniform or a union or a friend of the court. Those deductions are listed down here. And then the net pay that will be on the check for this particular person. So now we're ready to hit the save button here. And we have all of the details entered here for Mr. Jerry. And he has a paycheck ready to be created. Not ready to be printed yet, but we're ready to create the check for him. Now, Jerry's not the only person we're going to be creating a check for. We have some other people. And rather than go through this process for each and every person, we have a tool on our Tools tab over here on this left sidebar that says Add Multiple Pay Vouchers. And when I click on this Add Multiple Pay Vouchers, I have a tool which comes up. Now, this first box allows me to filter my list of employees. Now, my list isn't very big, and I want to just include everyone, so I'm simply going to click my Filter List button. And down below, I have a list of all of my employees that I can create paychecks for. Now I'm going to come over here, and again I'm going to put in my same pay date, which is the check date for today. And my pay period ending date is going to be back on a Sunday. And I have some other options here that says, do I want to create vouchers if I haven't preset the employee for a default pay? Part of our setup is we tell the system what an employee is normally going to be paid. And it says if there's no setup, go ahead and create a voucher anyway. Well, I don't want to do that today, so we're going to leave that off. We can include the pension if there's a pension program. We want to include any other recurring entries. Those would be those union fees or a friend of the court, any other deductions, or any deferred compensation, 401ks, pension, whatever that may be. So these are my available employees that I can create checks for. This is my list that I'm going to create checks for. Now I want to move everybody over there, so I'm simply going to click this double arrow button, and that moves everybody over to the selected employees. Now it's only going to create a voucher for employees that I have pre-told the system, here's what they're normally going to be paid. And if I haven't done that setup, it's just going to ignore them and leave them off to the side. So I should get about 5 or 6 vouchers here that will be created. So we'll click our Create Pay Vouchers. And it's telling me that there's already a pay voucher for this date, and that's okay. I want this to combine with the voucher we just created a minute ago. So we want to say yes, we want to combine this. And it's going through to create our pay vouchers. And it says that 4 vouchers were generated. 1 already existed, so it just skipped that person. And 14 did not have the preset elements in the employee's record, so it didn't know what to do, so it just ignored them. That was all okay. We're ready to close our tool now, and you will notice that we have several vouchers here now that we can create checks for. Now you will also notice that one of them here, Karen's record, it says it's a negative 50 cents. Well, that's because Karen's an hourly employee, and I need to go in and put in exactly how many hours she worked this pay period. So I'm going to double click on her voucher, and I'm going to go to the top, and I say I need to edit this voucher because she's an hourly employee, and she didn't just work 1 hour, she actually worked 23 hours. And when I enter in those 23 hours, it calculates the correct pay for her based on the pay rate over here, and it calculates the Medicare, the state, and the employer's Medicare for this particular paycheck. Now that we've entered in our hours, the rest of the numbers look correct, so we click the Save button, and she's ready to go. Now to go back to my list, I can simply go to this light blue toggle bar here at the top. This toggles between a list view and our detail view. So I clicked that one time, and I came back to my list, and this looks like a good list. These are the employees I want to pay. So the next item for us is to actually go and process and create paychecks. So we go to our primary task box again, and we click Process Checks. Now on here, you will notice I have several checks for 11/29, but one is snuck in here and was left over from October 31st. Well, our system is set up that it will only prepare checks, where we have this Prepare Create Checks button. It will only create checks for one check date at a time. So I'm going to have to come down here to my quick search and say that I want check date the 29th, November 29th. I click search, and you'll notice the one for October disappeared off the list. So I'm only looking at November 29th checks. Now I can come down here now to my Prepare Checks. That looks like the right list. Everybody's listed. I'm not missing anybody. And I click my button here. A new confirmation window is brought up, and it says this is our next check number, 10100. If we were doing direct deposits, it gives the next direct deposit number. In this case, we're not doing them at this time, so the next one is number 1. The date on the check, or actually this is going to be for the direct deposit, which because we're not doing direct deposits, we don't need to worry about that one. We have 5 employees that are going to get a check, the total gross pay of those 5, and total taxes, deductions, and then the net pay. Now let's say that the check number 10100 was used. Somebody accidentally printed a report on there. I can click my change the check number, and it allows me then to type in here, and I'm going to put in the next check number. That's the next good one. Nobody printed on that one yet. And so we are ready to click our Prepare Create Checks. This is where it actually assigns them a check number, and it lists them here for us. Here's all of our check numbers. And we are now ready to go down and print our checks. So I simply click my Print Checks. It tells me to go insert the check into the printer, and you would insert all of them. We click our OK, and if we wanted to put Happy Thanksgiving, we can put that in here. And you'll notice the message pops up over here, Happy Thanksgiving. This then is a summary for the employee, and it gives them the current earnings plus their year-to-date. And then we would print these out on our check form using our print button up here. This is a standard print interface for Windows. We simply tell it which printer we want to use, and we click the OK button. I'm not going to print those off because I don't have checks on this time. When we're done, we click the Close button, and these checks will then go away because they will have a status of open, saying that they've not cleared the bank yet. What's listed here are only unprinted checks. At that point, then you'll have your checks. You can take them and have the treasurer sign them, and you're ready to go with passing out your checks. Now, there are several reports and stuff in the system here for Pontum. We won't go through those at this time, but the training here was mainly just to get the checks created, to get you through the system and show you how it works. And now we're ready to open it up to any questions that you may have regarding creating checks.
Okay, everybody. Let's go ahead and pull up those questions. Okay. I need to pull up these questions, and it'll take me just a second to make sure that everybody's off mute so we can participate in the Q&A. We have 13 attendees, so it's just a handful of clicks for me. So let me go ahead and get that done. All right, I'm still clicking here, folks, so thanks for your patience. Almost done. Okay, so we've got everybody available to talk in the Q&A. So I do have a question or two that was submitted using the webinar tool. So I'm going to go ahead and read those now, and then we'll just let Patrick respond. So Patrick, it looks like the first question is about direct deposits. Can the program do direct deposits? I think he's muted. Oh, I'm sorry, Patrick. Try again. I had you
Okay.
muted by accident. All that clicking.
Well, actually, yes, the program does handle direct deposits, and it handles them very nicely. It's all part of the employee setup, and I will be glad to help anybody who has any questions about that or would like help with that setup. But to